Hello YouTubers and fellow hams. Well, we're going to be looking at revisiting a past subject. A couple of years ago or so, I received and built the Zachtek whisper beacon that I use quite often when I'm fiddling around with antennas. Useful little device. You can see it here on Zach's website. And I have the one there in the middle with the board to allow it to band hop. Pretty cool. I was gonna, well, I've been pretty busy, let me just say, fiddling around with an antenna project. I'll give you a teaser picture here just because it's such a cool photograph. I can't believe I caught a meteor. I've tried to catch meteors in the past and I accidentally caught one. But I'm working on that, and I'm waiting on parts. And I'm also gonna revisit another old video for this little active antenna, the mini whip, which I previously didn't have installed quite right. So we're going to be looking at that again too. But in the meantime, while those are going on, I decided I'd revisit this Zachtek whisper beacon because there has been a change in software. Now Zach's original software was Windows only, still is. And back then I tried to use it under Wine. Now, Wine is an API translation layer for Linux. Wine, W-I-N-E, stands for Wine is not an emulator. It's not a Windows emulator, it's a translation layer. So Windows programs, like Zach's control software for his hardware, they are binary programs that run on the x86 architecture CPUs, like the Intel or the AMD processors, which most of our Linux systems here, this does not include Raspberry Pi. That's an ARM CPU, that's different. But desktop and laptop Linux installations are generally on x86 based architectures. So the binary program itself, the Windows program, can run, but it's making calls into Windows to do things like open a window, display text, change a font, whatever, you know, all the things and the ways that it interacts with the user, that goes through the operating system, and it makes calls into the operating system to do those functions. Wine on Linux sits between the application and Linux, and it translates those calls. So the program says, hey Windows, open a window, put it here, put this text in there. Wine translates that to, hey Linux, open a window, put it here, put this text in there. So the program can then run, and you can use it under Linux natively without having to install Windows on a virtual machine. And Wine has been getting better and better and better over the years. It's been around for more than a decade. It's an old project. Gamers use it sometimes to run PC games under Linux, and it works for a lot of those. You know, so it's getting better and better and better. Well, back when I originally built the Zachtek board, Wine would not run his software. So I ended up coding a Python script to allow Linux users to work with his hardware. And that's worked out fine, but it doesn't give you all the functions that his software gives you. Well, currently Wine is at version 5.0 that I'm running. I mean, the development version is probably further along, but the one that comes with recent Linux installations, like Ubuntu 20.04 and later, does run his software, and it does work. There's just one thing you have to do in order for the Windows program to be able to talk to it. You have to create a virtual COM port, which is the way Windows looks at serial devices like COM1, COM2, COM3, that Wine will present to the application and direct to the Linux /dev/tty USB 0, or whatever the device name is that your serial USB device creates. And I'll take you to the computer and I'll show you how to do that and how his software can then be run natively under Linux. Okay. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to install Wine. I like to use Synaptic Package Manager to install things, as I've said many times before, simply because it shows you all the dependencies. You can get a little description in here of what a package is or a program is before you install it. It just makes it easier. So in Synaptic, I've searched for Wine, and here it is. version 5.0-3. Just click on the box, mark for installation. I've already done it, obviously, since it's green. And then go up here and hit apply to install it. Alternatively, you could use a terminal, and you could type in sudo apt install wine. And that'll ask for your password, and then it will install it. So once you've got wine installed, you should be able to run Windows applications with it pretty simply. In fact, I've got Zachtek's program right here. His software is going to require serial communications with the hardware. And this is where, with Wine, we need to create a registry key. Okay, now registry is the database under Windows of all the configuration for the system. Wine simulates that with its own version of the registry for certain things. And the way that we run that is we come up here to our terminal and we type in wine regedit. That'll give us a registry editor just like you would see under Windows. And I'm already where I need to be, but we'll get back to that in just a second. We need to figure out what the serial device is that the Whisper hardware is creating. So I will go to, bring this up here, in the root dev, and if we scroll down, these are virtual files that represent the hardware that's in our system. That's how Unix and Linux does it. Everything's a file. And if we come down here, we start to see these TTY entries. These are all serial entries. Unix used to be used by serial terminals, and so these TTY addresses would be teletype or serial teleprinters that were used to interface with the operating system. I'm going to plug in the Whisper beacon right now, and what we should find is that it created a new TTY device, and there it is, TTY USB 0. That's the serial port that the Whisper beacon created on our Linux system. So what I need to do is tell Wine that TTY USB 0 is a COM port in Windows. So let's go back to the registry editor. Where's the registry editor? Right there. In the registry editor, go to HKey, local machine, software, Wine, ports. And what we want to do in here is, and I've already done it, it's right there, but we want to do a new string value, and we'll name the value the COM port that we're going to have it assigned to in Windows. I'm duplicating my work here. I'll just end up deleting this when I'm done. But let's say we wanted to set it to COM3, right? And then we'd come over here and to the modify. If you right-click on this and hit modify, that's where we can enter our value data, and that value data would be /dev/tty USB 0. Pay attention to case, capitals and lowercase, that's important. But that has to match that serial port created in the dev directory. And I hit OK. Now I've got duplicate entries here, so I'm going to delete this one. But that's how you do it. So now I've assigned it to COM2, USB 0. So when I run the application, I'm going to tell it to look at COM2. All right? So let's go back to here, and this is his program. I'll open with Wine. There it is. It's running. And somewhere in here, serial port, COM2. There you are, COM2. Connect. It found it. It shows the firmware version. It knows what device it's talking to. And we are in control of it. I can make changes that I want to make. I can do anything that you could normally do with the software under Windows. If I wanted to change what bands it's beaconing on, right now it's on 80, 40, 20, and 15 meters. Why didn't it put the green dot? Oh, that's the band I've got the low pass filter for. Yeah, so this will still be okay. So yeah, you can see it's working. It's talking to it. We can change any of the settings just as we could under Windows. And if I hit save settings, it's going to save the data, output it to the device. Everything's good. So it works. You can do anything you can do with this software under Windows natively under Linux. Pretty cool. So there you go. It works. It should work with all of this hardware that he creates that his software supports in the same way. The only thing you'd have to watch out for is if the software creates a different serial device name. I have seen with some Arduinos, you end up with /dev/ACM0 instead of USB0. So you'd have to figure out which one is being created and then create the appropriate registry key to present that to his software as a COM port. So I hope you found that useful. If you have the Zachtek hardware and you run Linux, I'm sure you did find it useful. Okay, I'm going to get back on these antenna projects, and we'll see you in the next video, which will probably be my re-exploration of the mini whip, because I'm waiting on a commercial version of the antenna I built to show up so I can compare it to the one I built. Yeah, it's kind of involved. Anyway, see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.